Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And there's yet another kickback against Humza Yousaf's much maligned hate crime bill. This time, and it's from an unexpected source, it comes from Scottish writers. They don't want it. They say it has chilling implications, as they put it, for free speech. And will they be prosecuted for writing things in a book? Will it be wrong to be creative? Will you be prosecuted for hate crime if you put something as a writer into your stories? They say that the job of a writer is to reflect real life, and real life is sometimes ugly. Will they be prosecuted for it? They're very deeply worried. They're saying it is a major step back and part of forming a totalitarian state. But of course, that's exactly what it is. We all know exactly what he's doing. He is salami slicing the acceptance of a single party, monolithic state, eventually to be ruled by a theocracy of a particular gang of his. It seems that he's prepping, gaslighting, laying the foundations for it. And it must be rejected at every single opportunity. And so we thank the writers also for coming out and highlighting the problem. Let's take a look to see what's getting them so riled up that their little ballpoint pens are quivering. Here goes. So, Scottish writers call on Humza Yousaf's chilling hate crime law to be delayed due to freedom of speech concerns. As we mentioned, you can't write things in a book if you're under fear for someone coming along saying, well, this book's a bit hateful, isn't it? And nicking you. Scottish Pen have become the latest group to hit out at Scottish Government proposals which could see actors, comedians and playwrights arrested if their show is reported for hate crimes. It is pretty bad. And you've got to think, under Humza Yousaf's government, To Kill a Mockingbird, for example, would be a hate-filled book. Indeed, so would the Quran and the Bible. All those terrible things that happen. It's the man's a lunatic, but he's so driven by the blokes down the mosque insisting on having this blasphemy law by the back door that he's drafted what is an absolute awful piece of legislation. And as we saw yesterday with the police, they're totally against it. They know come Monday they're swamped. I mean, we're sitting here now, we've got the rest of Thursday, you've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then bang, there will be no police in Scotland because every single one of them is going to be up to their polite armpits dealing with hate crime reports that they must, by law, investigate. Even if there's no action, even if it doesn't meet criteria, it still has to be investigated. And boy, we're going to have fun with it. And it's the only way we can get this law removed and repealed is to utterly repudiate it, ridicule it, and overwhelm the police with it until eventually the police go and say, for God's sake, get it off the books. Otherwise, we cannot act. That's the way to go. So we stand, remember? An influential group of Scottish writers have piled pressure on Humza Yousaf and the Scottish Government as they have called for the controversial Hate Crime Act to be delayed until problems with it are ironed out. The problem being, the biggest problem with it, is it exists. Scottish Pen described it as having a chilling effect on free speech in the country. The new law is set to come into force on April Fool's Day, which I think is very, very apt. With cops able to arrest and charge Scots who are alleged to have made hateful comments about someone with a protected characteristic, like age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, transgender identity, or variation in sex, but not sex itself. So I can call someone a stupid woman, and that's fine. If I called her a stupid old woman, oh, that's a hate crime. Weird, isn't it? Police officers have been told that plays and stand-up shows are not off limits, meaning performers could be complained about and end up with a criminal record. It is this aspect of the bill which has worried Scottish Pen, who campaigned previously for exemptions for writers, which is good. Get writers to be exempt. Then you just write down your script beforehand and say, no, I've written it, I'm exempt. It's a joke, isn't it? Police officers have been told. I was literally just done that. But with news reports revealed the strict new guidance and training, which could lead to widespread arrests, they've now called for the law to be paused to allow it to be scrutinised and potentially changed. They expressed deep alarm about the new rules. Now, this is one I think where London could step in and say that it goes against existing legislation such as the Equality Act or the European Convention on Human Rights. Now, they've already used the Equality Act to get rid of the gender legislation, much to the chagrin of the SNP and Hamza Yousaf in particular. And on a side note relating to that, but it is important, Hamza Yousaf at the time said he would only go to court and appeal it if the legal advice he was given was that they could win. And he was asked to publish the legal advice. He said, no, we haven't got to court yet. We'll publish it after the court. Well, it's been some time now, and they still haven't published that legal advice. And we can only draw the conclusion that the reason they haven't published that legal advice is that, as we suspect, the legal advice is probably saying, for heaven's sake, don't go to court. You haven't got a hope in hell of winning. And then he's got to court. And if that's the case, and he's given legal advice that they can't win, then the costs of that shouldn't come out of the public purse. Should come out of the SNP's back pocket. That'd be the final nail into the coffin, wouldn't it? Anyway, get back. The letter from Penn, which is here, reads: "We are greatly disturbed to read reports that police training material indicates that material regarded as threatening and abusive under the Act can be communicated through public performance of a play. One of the issues Scottish Pen campaigned on during the initial passage of the Act was the removal of a section including additional provisions on culpability where the offence of stirring up hatred was committed during public performance of a play. For these provisions, nevertheless, to be effected through a back door would be deeply regrettable." I mean, and they're back on it. They are completely on the ball. Why should creatives, artists, writers, performers who give or perform a play be subject to hate simply because someone in the audience says, "I don't like that, I'm offended," and then they get a criminal record for it because one person is offended, one sad little individual with nothing better to do in their empty void lives goes and complains, and there's no burden of proof. Now, if you look at it, you just got to look at the plays of Shakespeare. Oh, you can't do Othello? God, that's out, isn't it? You can't do The Merchant of Venice. I suspect even the likes of Love's Labour's Lost, Romeo and Juliet, certainly Julius Caesar. That can't be done. Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. It is absolutely a joke. Now, these are classics. But like I say, even things like if you're going to do To Kill a Mockingbird, that would be problematic, wouldn't it? The portrayal and the use of words to describe people in that particular book. And yet, and will it extend to films on TV? If, for example, BBC Scotland put on a film and it's, quote, problematic, would the BBC in Scotland get prosecuted for a hate crime? And would it mean that the chief executive himself would have to go to court? Who would be responsible? This is one of these examples of where an idiot in the form of Hamza Yousaf tries to get something through, his blasphemy law, knows he can't do it as a pure blasphemy law, creates this extension of law, we'll call it hate crime and all that, bolts all these other things on to try and hide the fact that it is effectively just a blasphemy law, without the ability to think things through, see the consequences, see the problems, and then ask himself the questions, what will happen if? Hasn't got the ability to do it. And if anyone questions him in the cult, oh no, you must not question the leader knows all, the leader is all wise, all knowing, all wonderful, don't question anything the leader says. And that's why you end up with complete piles of bullshit law like this that we can defeat easily, which we are going to. I know we are militant. We win, and I tell you why we win. We are many, they are few. Day one, or tappity, whatever it is. Complain, and complain about every single politician who opens their mouths. Every time. police will be overwhelmed, and these guys will be having a knock on their door 47 times a day, and that law will die a death overnight. Anyway, I shall round off there. It shall come up, and we shall finish the video. I do so love it when politicians try to bring in stupid laws and then basically assume that we are as stupid as they are, and they assume that we will never realise what it's really for, because they seem to think that we are complete idiots. But of course we are not complete idiots. There are some complete idiots, of course, but they tend to be SNP politicians. And then there are complete loons, but they tend to be SNP voters. Because the voters of the SNP, they're actually voting for this. They're actually supporting this. They want this to happen. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Why would you, as an SNP supporter, want to ban normal, free speech? Because I can tell you now, the ones who will suffer the most out of this will be the politicians and the loony left. Because the loony left think they sit there, they think they're being virtuous and they're above the law. Oh, we can say things because we're on the side of right. And then when they're being marched off with the handcuffs, and their hands behind their back, they go, well, this isn't right, officer. Yeah, it is. And we can use it, and we've got to. Just got to keep pushing it. And that's why we'll win. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.